Welcome to Chris Parkin Shooting Sports. Happy New Year 2025. I've got now a new air rifle. This has come from Sportsman Gun Centre and it's an FX Impact M4. Now I haven't had one of these yet. They've been out a few months, so I'll let the excitement die down and get one myself to use. Now they have been apparently selling like hotcakes, partly why I've taken a while to get one, but here we go. This is it. I don't know the exact specification yet until I actually open it. So it says on the box here, FX Impact M4 22 caliber UK black, standard UK. So it would apparently be a UK sub 12 foot-pound version. And here we are. So this comes in a tailored custom case. It's got the Foster adapter there. We've got an instruction manual here, which gives us all sorts of details about FX, tuning them, setting them up, trigger systems, all the adjustments and mechanics, etc. But essentially, that is the air rifle. Now this one's getting a full review when I'm taking it out after today. So, starting from front to back, it's been supplied with a sound moderator to go on the muzzle. That's a 1/2 inch thread, so you can use any sound moderator that'll suit for that, but it comes with one. That will fit on there straight away. Shrouded barrel as usual, carbon fibre air tank. It's now got 2 regulators, not 3, but the regulators have been improved. It's got a new trigger system. It's got a dovetail on top, which allows the Picatinny rail to move backward and forward. Picatinny rail on the side here, on the side there too. And then we've got the new magazine system, which is a little bit different, but we'll do that when we get around to actually using it. Let's just put this out of the way. Magazine fits in the back here, as you've seen on FX before. I've reviewed several of the FX Impacts in the past, the Mark II, the Mark III. Got an adjustable height recoil pad, which will move up and down there. Fill pressure, then we've got the primary regulator here. It's a bullpup design, so we've got the long barrel through from back to front. That's going from there through to there, so that looks like about 600mm, but we shall measure that when we do the full review. It's a new grip system, which is a little bit chunky, a little bit more of a thumb shelf here, and we've obviously got the power adjuster there, which allows us to set exactly what we're getting for energy output. The bottle on the front is 480 cc's, so we'll see how many shots that gives us. And it's got a Picatinny rail on top, which doesn't appear to have inclination on it, which isn't actually necessarily a problem for a sub 12 air rifle. So we shall get this set up, get a scope on it and get it out and take it out shooting, because I'm keen to see how many shots I'm going to get from it and also how accurate it is. Now there are a few slight changes, because it now has a slight ball detent here to hold that back, and you can hear that just click as you go past there and forwards. And of course, don't dry fire it, but I can just ease it off there, holding the trigger back, and that will then be a nice safe shot. The new trigger system is fully adjustable. It's got a much finer feel to it. So it's called the quick set trigger system, as you can see on there. Grip's hollow there. Foster adapter goes in on the bottom to do the filling up, and we can obviously put a bipod onto that Picatinny mount there to just sit forward. You can also get extenders for these, and you can get a bottle clamp as well if you want to put a longer bipod on it. Now it does appear it can be swapped from right-handed to left-handed, because it's got all the mechanics to do that there, but of course the magazine is always going to fit on the right, because there is actually a guard there to stop it going on. Nice toggle cocking system, obviously very fast. You can just feel the slight ball detent there in the mechanics, but it actually feels really smooth, and I quite like that. Just let that go down. Safety catches on the side here, that's operable with the firing index finger. And we shall get ready to take it out shooting. Come on then, let's have a nice, safe, dry fire. Cock that. The trigger it's a 2-stage trigger, and there we go. Super duper, let's go shooting. So I got it all set up and got it out shooting. Yes, it looks very similar to an M3, and physically overall the handling character is similar, but there are some very subtle details that you will notice if you shoot the two alongside each other, or you've particularly got a lot of experience with an M3. I set it up with an Element Helix HDLR scope on it. This is a 2:16 by 50. I thought that was a perfect specification with this air rifle, and it didn't disappoint me in use. I've got Aculite mounts on it also from Element as well. Now, first of all, when you're shooting it, the moderator does make it very, very quiet. This is the 12 foot-pound version. It did actually squeeze up to 12.2 foot-pounds with the 15.89 grain pellets, thus, but with the heavier 18.13s, it was at 11.9. You've got a power adjuster on the side, you can dial it down. I don't think anybody's ever really going to dial down, and I think these would normally be specified exactly at 12 foot-pounds. But if I actually shot that on the lowest setting with a heavy pellet, I was down to 7.4 foot-pounds with correspondingly larger shot capacity. Now, in terms of shot capacity, this is going to be approaching 300 shots. You will probably, when you've shot it a lot, find sweet spots still in the very, very slight power curve that you get from even a double regulated rifle, but you will not have a problem, it will not disappoint you. It's a 480cc buddy bottle, carbon fibre, it fills up to 250 bar, and you've got the Foster connection on the underside. That fills up very easily, you don't get leaks or gas escaping, so it's very simple and quite reassuring to use. While I'm on the underside there, you can see I've got a Tier 1 ATAC bipod, and that's fastened onto the underside Picatinny rail mounting point there. There's also Picatinny mounting points on the side if you want to put additional accessories on, like FX chronographs, things like that, or a torch light, IR illuminator, things for shooting. The barrel is shrouded, it's a Superior STX liner. Again, this one's suited to pellets, it's a 12 foot-pound version, and that in this standard rifle is a 640mm barrel. Right, now looking at some of the other features about it, the magazine system. So if I just pop that out there, this has seen a major improvement, because now you rotate that as before, you rotate this all the way around as before and lock it with a pellet, but these dimples have been put in. And yesterday, and today to be fair, it was especially cold, and this is really useful because you've got a point there just to put your finger or thumb into and just wind it round easily, pop that first pellet in to lock it. Now, once you load all the others up, that's fine. You get very smooth rotation on it. It's far superior to the previous magazine systems. And although it looks the same, it does work a lot more efficiently, and you don't tend to get any snags or locks at all on it. Now, while we're talking about magazines, this is the 22 caliber, which is 28 shots. If you go for the 177, it's 35 shots, and in the 25 caliber, it is 25 shots. I don't think anybody's going to have the sub 12 in a 30 caliber, but 30 caliber magazine, if you have the FAC version, is 20 shots. And these, once you've set them up, loaded them up, just click that round there like that again, and it slots back in. Now, obviously, there are no pellets in this now, so I can't put that back in without loading it because the probe won't go through it. Now, while we're talking about the probe, the side lever, it's pretty much just as smooth as before, extremely nice to shoot, but you can just hear it there's a slight click there because it locks back on the slight ball detent, so it's nice and lightweight, and you don't have the magnet as you did in the past. That is equally smooth and equally fast, and actually when you are deliberately shooting the rifle extremely quickly, almost just to tempt it, you don't notice any sort of lag time in terms of the refill between the regulators. There isn't a large plenum on this, and you used to notice on some of the previous rifles that that lag and refill time was slower. This one not at all. I can shoot this as fast as I can physically operate the bolt and trigger, and it gives me consistent results over the chronograph. Safety catch is on the side here, flip it down, flip it up, fire and safe. You can transfer the lever to the other side as well if you want to have a left-handed cocking system. Now this is now cocked, so let's talk about the quick set trigger system. Now this has been set up so it can be tuned either for sort of hunting or match precision, and as well as being fully adjustable both rotationally, vertically, longitudinally to give you a different reach, it is also weight adjustable, and it is incredibly nicely set up the way it comes from the factory. And I'm just going to do a safe dry fire now. That is absolutely clean, crisp and precise. And I can get a good feel on this, pull to the second stage and then just squeeze and it's gone. Now just to weigh this as it's been supplied from the factory, this is another safe dry fire, run the trigger gauge on it. That's breaking at 208 grams, which is 7.3 ounces. You can obviously increase the weight from that if it suits you. I was shooting yesterday, it was 0 degrees centigrade, fingers are a little bit numb, but I still found the trigger completely reliable and acceptable. Were I to be shooting in colder weather or wanted gloves and things like that, I might increase the trigger weight a little bit, but it's no issue, and you can access all the adjustments through the slot in the bottom here, just behind the Foster fill cap, which again fits on with a nice tight clip. The grip is still AR-15 compatible, it's a nice rubberized feel, it's a little bit meatier than before, you can get hold of it securely and you've no issue controlling and operating the rifle. I would possibly want to add the longer Picatinny rails on the underneath from people like Sabre Tactical, because I prefer my bipod kind of completely at the front. It just gives me a little bit more stability in terms of the elevation, aim, etc. But that's one of the compromises you go for a rifle like this, which is 860mm long, 34 inches, you know, including the moderator end to end. So it's a super compact rifle for extremely short, accurate, dynamic hunting scenarios. It's also very easy to get in and out of the vehicle or shoot from a vehicle in pest control scenarios because of that incredibly compact size, which of course the bullpup layout is the master of. In terms of the regulators on it, you've got a regulator at the front here which gives you your air tank pressure, so that's remaining, fills to 250 bar, and then at the back end here you've got your regulator pressure which tells you how much regulation air is being used shot per shot, and generally when that starts getting near that, or when that starts getting near that, you know you're running out. I don't think most people will actually have any problem with the capacity available from this in a sub 12 format, because you have hundreds of shots and the consistency is excellent. I was getting extreme spreads of less than 10 feet per second for a 15 shot string, which is very, very acceptable to me. Now the AMP2 regulator now has a brass piston, which of course is one of the things that assures that faster refill time. Now, one of the major features of the new M4 is this adjustable scope mount. Now that's a Picatinny rail on top there, and that is actually clamped onto the dovetail, which is part of the action. The actions have been made in a stiffer way. They've got this thicker top beam on it, which they claim improves accuracy. Now these have all got torque settings on them of 2 Newton meters, and if you want to move that around, you can slide it back and forth. To be honest, I'm not sure how much physical use that is, because you have still got a fair length of Picatinny rail, and not that it's actually a problem, but do bear in mind, and you can see here, you need to make sure your scope mounts are tall enough to make sure that the back end of the optic is going to clear that rail, because of course with the rail being nearly as long, you know, it's probably 3/4 the length of the optic, it's not sort of sitting within the saddle area in centrally anymore. So do bear in mind, yeah, taller scope mounts to make sure that that zoom collar is going to clear the back end here. And you could say, well, put the scope further back, but then you've got the same issue at the front end of the objective body. Not many people shoot 40s and 44s. This is a 50. A lot of people shoot 56. And in this scenario, well, you may as well, because you're going to get that extra light gathering capability without really any other compromise. Now, in fairness, it isn't actually affecting the ergonomics fit of the rifle, because with my cheek on the cheek rest there, I am still in a nice cheek position. And of course different people will suit different cheek pieces ever so slightly because they've got different facial shape, but I think as an overall ergonomic package, that is giving me a superb fit and feel, and I didn't have any problem with my head sort of floating around or anything like that. So although you do need to bear in mind some of the nuances of the scope fitting, they're not actually a problem. Just bear in mind when you're buying scope mounts and choosing your scope for it, because although this is super long, I don't think anybody's going to have a scope long enough that's going to completely span that from this sort of objective to ocular bodies. Now, being the sub 12 version, it doesn't have all the dials and adjustability. You have got the power adjuster here, which can only be set when your rifle is uncocked. At 16 there, I was getting 12 foot-pounds. Right at the bottom, 7.4 foot-pounds. If you want to change it, just bear in mind you need to accommodate your scope 0 as well. But when it's uncocked, that will just rotate all the way through the stages. And you can see it also clicks all the way back down when you get back down to 0. I'll go all the way up there again, and it clicks back down. So I generally just left it on full power, which is marked at 16. But if you had a scenario where you wanted to go very low power and you wanted to check 0 or to accommodate your 0, change it on your turret, then that is actually quite ideal if you've got indoor scenarios where you might have some very close range shooting, especially against roof linings, things like that, where you don't want any excess power at all. Overall weight is 3.1 kilograms, which is 8.8 pounds, and that's, I think, ideal for a rifle of this layout because, again, being the bullpup, it's got a very neutral, close to shoulder balancing compared to a long rifle where a lot of the balance would be in front of your left hand or over your left hand. Well, the balance here is actually sort of more in the medium point at the back, just under the back end of the scope. So it does save you just a little bit of handling dynamic on it. It'll suit some people, not suit others. Depends on the type of rifle you want. Now, of course, the compact build with a buddy bottle underneath the barrel, it gives you quite a tall layout, and you do want to be careful with your bipod setting because you don't want the gun obviously too tall because it does tend to make it slightly top heavy. But you can weigh that off against the fact that being so short, you do get a really nice hold and position on it to shoot, and you don't need a huge shooting bench or a huge support system. And when you're sort of leaning on a fence post or on a piece of machinery in a farming environment, you've got a great situation to get that great balance, and you can get incredibly stable aim points, which I tested and demonstrated in some of the video footage. Shooting on paper, I changed to quite a few different pellet types. I do still prefer the JSP Exacts, the heavies, or the Jumbo Extra heavies. These have been my favourite on so many air rifles, and whether it be sub 12 or FAC, I use those for pretty much everything. The 15s, they work nicely. Some air rifles they might shoot, particularly, you know, maybe spring piston air rifles, but I think in the pre-charge I do still prefer the 18.1s. The recoil pad at the back is rubber. You can undo the screws there and it will move up and down to give you a slightly different position. A lot of people, especially those who shoot from benches, go for quite a vertical sitting position, and that recoil pad needs to be quite low so they can keep the head way up there vertically too. But if you're more of a prone shooter, you're probably going to have that recoil pad slid up to the top. It is a slightly sort of soft rubber feel, but it's got a deep dish on it, and of course you've got that rubberized hand grip there too to hold the rifle into your shoulder in scenarios where that is an ideal grip. You see, I was shooting mostly from the bench with a rear bag. You can put a rear bag underneath the back end here. Being quite a sort of smaller area, you can sort of squish and present into the rear bag more, and it does give you a good solid hold on it. There is a mechanical guard here just to stop the magazine being damaged from the other side, and of course that right side magazine does make it possible but not quite as comfortable to shoot left-handed because it is sort of here in front of your chin. But I think left-handed shooters have come to accept that most rifles are generally not built exactly for them, although you can have the left-handed cocking handle set up here. Right, well, I hope you enjoyed that review. A little bit more depth, a little bit more detail. I don't just cover the technical points, which are all available in the link I'll put in the description, but it gives you a little bit more idea about the real world handling, use, setting up, and whether this rifle will suit you. Right, thank you for watching. Bye for now.